Welcome back to The Mindful Way with Tom and Heather. Today, we wanted to talk about a practice that has been so powerful for us. And it's something we do slightly differently, and it has to do with reflection and reflecting back on our days, our weeks, and our months.
Yeah, in a world that's constantly pulling us forward, it's nice to build grounding habits, to look backwards, and also help calibrate your own habits going forward. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, we found it not just nice, but essential.
Yeah, essential.
As in, it gives us such clarity and awareness into, like, Tom basically does these really cool daily kind of, what do you call them?
Summaries.
Daily summaries. And then he also will look back each month at all his daily summaries. And so he's able to come to me and be like, wow, we had a really busy month. And sometimes when you're in it, you don't realize that. And you're like, why am I
sometimes, always. That's the big, this is like been a transparent habit that I've created for myself. I do a small, it's kind of like journaling, every single day with the intention of just.
And you do it on the computer.
Yeah.
I want to make sure everyone knows, like, you don't have to write in a notebook. Right. We do it differently.
Sometimes I miss a few days and then I go back and every once in a while I'll miss like an actual day. But generally speaking, I try to do a summary every single day, a small summary of the day.
Yes.
And then each month what I'll do.
Like just a few sentences, right?
Yeah, very, very small.
Like one.
But then
one
the big ones that I'll do is each month I'll go in, kind of look at the whole month as a whole. So I'll read every single daily summary. And then I'll kind of just take stock of my mood. And it's interesting because you see these trends. You see a few things. I mean, one, you see that your emotions change, which you don't necessarily see in the moment because you're always just kind of caught up in what you feel. So you might see, oh wow, one month was way more stressful than the month before. My whole life isn't always stressful, even though it might feel like that in that moment, right? So you're able to kind of take stock of your emotions, but you're also able to kind of take stock of all the things that you've done. And I think it's really easy in this day and age, especially, to feel like we've never done enough, or to feel like we haven't moved the needle. Moving the needle is a big thing. Personal progress takes slow, small steps forward. But everything else in this world we live in moves lightning speed. So you can feel like you're behind.
Yes.
Then you look at the summaries and you're like, oh, I actually did do a lot in 30 days.
Yeah. And I think also this idea of progress, so that we have to always be progressing. I think sometimes we can put a lot of pressure on ourselves to change things or grow in certain ways, but we can look back on the month and just be like, this was a big personal month, as in I just was surviving. Maybe you had tough stuff going on. So if you weren't able to show up, 100% or whatever this expectation is from you or from an outside place, this kind of gives that perspective as like, oh, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm not exhausted for no reason or overwhelmed. It's because of all this stuff that happened this month or the past few months.
Yeah.
And there's something so powerful and gentle there that I think is really wonderful to be able to give yourself a little bit of grace and say, oh, okay, this is why.
Yeah. And I think, so to take it further, I do the 1 month summaries and then I do 2 separate summaries. My birthday happens to be about halfway through the year. So I always do a 6 month or 1 year summary on my birthday, which is around this time of year. And then the new year, I do like a New Year summary. And they have different intentions. One of them is more of goal setting with New Year's, but the other one is more like personal, what's happening in my life. That's the birthday version.
Do you ask yourself questions? Or you just kind of like, when you're doing your monthly summary, do you just read back through all of your daily summaries? Like, how do you do that exactly?
Yeah, I read through everything and then I look for the macro trends associated with what's happening. So like last month was a month where I felt I was doing a lot. I really was we were building this podcast, we were building this business, right? We were doing a lot of things. And I looked back and I realized that, there was a lot going on and maybe I wasn't as present as I wanted to be because of that.
Of course.
But the reflection was the tipping point where I was able to then look in the mirror and say, okay, let me try my best to change going forward. If I didn't have that reflection habit, I might have just been like that freight train that just keeps
like a stress
moving.
ball all the time. Yeah.
And that's why, reflection is it should just be standard. I think people that have jobs where you don't have slow periods, it can be really, really hard to take time out of your day and actually say, like, do I still want to be doing this? Because you're so caught in the grind.
Yes.
But if you have the space to reflect, then you can start to really look forward and, build your life.
How do you make sure you're doing it? Because you are very good. You said sometimes you'll skip a few days and you'll go back and like try and remember like little things about the day. But for the monthly part of it, because I feel like that's the really powerful part of what you're doing. Or how do you keep yourself accountable with that?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the tough parts just in general about being self-employed is you have to have some sort of self-discipline. So for me, I treat it like as if, you go to your job and you have to clock in. Well, this is my clock in every month. The first of every month, there's a bunch of habits I have to do.
Okay.
And I've just built it. So I've at this point, I've seen the benefit of it so strongly that I can't imagine not doing it.
Yeah.
And it's actually something I look forward to because it's a lot of, in addition to all these things about improving yourself, whatever, it's also wonderful to just kind of to look at your life in a way that you don't always get to see.
Slow down a little bit and say, oh, wow, this month was really special. We got time with family or whatever it was. We did these fun things, which, again, like you said, we're moving at such a pace that we don't always take that time or create that time to slow down like that. The way I do it is as sort of as a grounding practice. And so every morning I try to do it first thing. I go through a few journal questions, kind of tracking where am I at right now emotionally? How am I feeling this morning? And then how do I want to feel today? Not that I have perfect control over that, but it's more like something to aim for. So if I wake up and I'm feeling kind of moody, and let's say I want to feel more at peace, then I ask myself, okay, what is one thing I can do that will help me to feel that way? So maybe it's taking a nap that day, or going for a walk by myself, or calling my mom, or having a date night with you, whatever it is. So I really try to tune into where I'm at. What's one thing, like I want to feel slightly better, and then what can I do to kind of get there? And then I do weekly reflections to kind of see how my weeks are. But for me, the even daily ones are really, really helpful because it just really reminds me of like small things I can do that will help me feel better.
Yeah. And the more you do this, the more you start to see through the stories you tell yourself. We have stories about who we are, and a lot of times they're not necessarily the truth. For example, we may tell ourselves we don't work as hard. We're not, or we're not doing enough. That's a huge one in my life. Just I constantly feel like I'm not doing enough. But then you use the summaries and the reflections to look back and realize like, oh, okay, the emotion versus the truth are not always in sync. And that's a common theme through doing these summaries, is like how you feel versus the truth of what happened are very, very often not in sync. So that just helps you deal with it in the moment a little bit. The more you do it, the more you see your habits. And I think, life is just a constant, what life is it's the summary of our habits. So being able to reflect on your habits can help you do the necessary work to move them around if you need to.
Yes. Yeah. So reflecting helps you build awareness, as we're saying, create aligned choices. So, hey, this thing isn't working for me. I'm realizing I need to do something different. And then create space for self-trust to grow. Like you believe, okay, I can make a small change in my life, really small. Like, okay, seeing this friend, I noticed I felt really crummy afterwards. Or, maybe I won't, maybe that's not a small one, but maybe I won't see them as much. Or, every time that I have a lot of candy, then I feel crummy afterwards, whatever it is, right? So it's like kind of just tuning into, kind of tuning into those little things. And when you're tuned into those things over time, it just becomes easier to have your own back.
All right. And I also want to just say that you don't have to be as intense as me. You don't have to do a summary every single day. You don't have to do like a monthly summary. You don't have to. And that might sound really overwhelming in the beginning. And that wasn't my intention when I was getting started with this. It actually started before anything was a yearly summary. I would just do a yearly summary. And then I did 2 yearly summaries because my birthday again happened 6 months out of the year. And then that went to a monthly summary. And I did that for a few years. Then I was like, you know what? Let me do a daily summary and combine them all. So this happened over years. So it's not about, you don't have to do all that. You just have to find something that works for you and be consistent with it. That's the biggest thing, is just try it, experiment, see how it makes you feel, and then over time, refine it.
Yeah, and you don't have to do it in any certain way. You don't have to write something down if that in a journal if that doesn't feel right, or do something on the computer like Tom's saying. It could be an audio message. It could just be like every morning before you get out of bed, asking yourself, like, what's one thing I'm grateful for? And taking 2 seconds to do that. It really could be something very simple if you're feeling super pressed for time in your life right now. So it's really just like, how can you kind of find little key moments throughout the day to check in with yourself and bring in sort of those good feelings.
And something that I'm really excited about in the future is going to be tying these summaries into a system like an AI system that's able to kind of look at the context of all of your summaries. I haven't done this yet, but this is something I've been really excited to try. And essentially, tell me more about me. Help me see me. I think that is like at the core why this is important. We don't see ourselves the way the world sees us. And I don't mean the world as in like an individual person, how they view you. I mean just like the world. We view ourselves in our own little head bubble. So
it's
these
almost
summaries,
like a more macro way of looking at ourselves from this like
it's almost as if like you were looking at
quote unquote,
if you were like a very, very kind person looking at yourself and just being like, hey, I want to help you. Like, here are the things that I see you doing. I mean, my God, the amount of little habits I've picked up on that I didn't know from doing this, because you just see every you look at a few different times like, oh wow,
you're just daily summaries.
Yeah, like, oh wow, I felt that way a few days in a row, like, and then you could think of like the context, like what was I doing during those few days that's different than now, or what habit did I, like for example, I stopped meditating for like a few weeks. Oh, interesting, like that wasn't my best month last month, right? You know, so those are the insights that you can pick up on, and it's going to get really interesting once you have technology going forward that can help you improve upon yourself. And I'm excited about that, even though it's a little nerve-wracking with privacy.
Just be so in tune with you in a way that like we're not always able to.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So if you're feeling a little off lately or not like yourself, try reflecting instead of just kind of pushing through. Really ask yourself, when was the last time I checked in with myself? What am I holding on to right now? And is it even more than I realized? So creating that space really allows you to actually reclaim some more energy in your life, to create space for more energy.
Yeah, building habits around reflection, or I could say, are one of the most powerful tools I've ever kind of built into my life, and it makes my own decisions and my own life more transparent in a way that's benefits everyone. Benefits Heather.
Yes, yes.
Benefits me.
It like helps our relationship. It's a really beautiful thing that we're just so grateful for, and it's made us because it's one thing someone else might say something to you like, hey, you seem stressed, and you're kind of like defensive.
When I
like,
say it
no,
to
I'm
myself,
not.
it's much
but
easier.
When you go back and look like, oh yeah, I've been really stressed, then it's such a powerful thing. So it's really taking care of yourself in a huge way. And so we'd love to challenge you to do something that's reflective this week and really kind of make it as simple as possible. So maybe it's just reflecting with, to a friend or to a parent or someone that you feel, you trust, and just sharing kind of what's going on with your week. Or it could be journaling, maybe buying a journal for yourself, make it fun, use pens, whatever, colored pens, kind of just have fun with it and see what you can do this week. See what kind of little practice you can create for yourself this week.
So if you know somebody who's craving a little bit more clarity in their life, share this episode with them, and you can find more tips like this on our website at tomandheathercoaching.com.